Good morning. This is Kevin Thalwiner. I'm the Deputy Public Works Director for the City of St. Cloud. I'd like to thank everybody for coming and meeting with us today. I really wish it could be live, but unfortunately with today's the way the day and age, like I said, we have to come to you digitally from my office here at the City of St. Cloud. I do want to let everybody know that this is currently the Pollution Prevention Week and Stormwater Awareness Week here at the City of St. Cloud. And so as part of that, we're going to be doing a presentation about the City of St. Cloud stormwater programs. Like I said, if you have any questions, go ahead and type those into the little viewer there, and I'll be glad to try to answer those at the end of this webinar. If you have any questions, like I said, I will have my contact information after this webinar for you to be able to contact me with any additional questions that you may have. With that, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and be able to start with the presentation. Thank you. As we discussed, this is the city's this is a presentation on the city's stormwater programs. The first thing we would like to be able to do before we start talking about the programs is basically what is stormwater. Stormwater is basically the rain that falls from the sky. It is defined as rain or snow, but here in Florida we really don't have a lot of snow. So like I said, so it's when the rain falls from the sky, it becomes like I said, it lands on the ground. Some of it actually soaks into the ground. And others go in other areas where it hits like either a sidewalk or a road or a rooftop, it runs off, becomes runoff. It becomes surface water. As part of that, like I said, it runs. And the bad part about having runoff is not only can it cause flooding, but it also can collect things such as automotive fluids, fertilizers, pesticides. I said sediment, litter, even pet waste can be collected in the stormwater and be taken to the ponds, either in a neighborhood. Some of the newer neighborhoods have stormwater ponds, which help allow for the sediment to be able to settle out and become a little more, like I said, to be able to settle out of there before it discharges into the streams and lakes. But there are some parts of town that the older parts of town, usually the grid, that have a hard time actually getting those types of ponds. The St. Cloud's grid does have the stormwater system along Lakeshore. It does collect a large portion of the grid. But like I said, there are portions of the grid and other areas in the outlying areas of St. Cloud, some of the older neighborhoods that do not have stormwater ponds. And as part of that, it actually becomes, it can actually help a little bit more detrimental to some of our systems because, like I said, because dirty stormwater does affect the environment. To be able to go a little more in detail on this, I found a website, a video from the EPA to kind of discuss this in a little more detail.
Hi, my name is Robert Kuhn. I work for EPA in the Office of Water. I work on sustainable water resource management. Excess stormwater can destabilize streams, smother aquatic habitat, clogs our navigation channels, and increases our water treatment costs. Stormwater is runoff or precipitation that falls from the sky in the form of rain or snow that melts or runs off the landscape. As you develop the landscape, you create impervious surfaces, and as the water hits the impervious surfaces, instead of soaking into the ground or being captured and evaporated on trees and plants, the water runs off the landscape, and as it runs off the landscape, it picks up pollutants that are on the ground, oils and grease, sediment, metals, bacteria and viruses from wildlife and pets, and those pollutants run into our water bodies. Some things you can try to do to reduce your stormwater impact is to wash your car at a car wash, to make sure that all bare ground is vegetated, that you plant plants and grass, that you pick up your lawn clippings, after you mow your lawn so they're not washed into the gutters and into our streams, and run untreated into our streams and lakes. Learn more about green infrastructure by typing into your browser EPA, green infrastructure, low impact development.
So that was kind of a good overview of what we were discussing there. As you see here, it's kind of, like I said, so that is really what it is, what stormwater is. To be able to help stop some of those areas, or to help try to minimize our impacts to the environment. The city has 4 different programs that we do here at the City of St. Cloud. We have National Pollution Elimination System as a federal permit that we have here to be able to help minimize pollution. Illicit Discharge, a pond inspection program, and we also have a stormwater utility here at the city. And I'd like to be able to, at this time, go over all 4 of these programs. National Pollution Elimination System. It has 6 main areas that we're required to, as part of our permit, to be able to take care of, and to be able to help try to minimize our impacts with stormwater. The first one is public outreach. We do that at different events throughout the year to be able to hand out different flyers and stuff to be able to show what people are able to do to minimize their impacts. And this year is one of the areas where we're going to do this. This is also considered part of our public participation. We do, like I said, have multiple times throughout the year where we present stuff on our stormwater and ask for responses back from the community to help try and make our programs better. Like I said, illicit discharge and elimination. Like I said, that basically illicit discharge is any time that anything besides stormwater goes into the stormwater. And so we're trying to minimize those impacts because it's a lot easier to be able to stop pollutants going into the stormwater than it is to actually take it out once they are in there. And so, like I said, so we work very hard to try to minimize the pollutants that get into our stormwater. Management and control of site runoff is number 4. Like I said, we have a very aggressive inspection program for all construction sites that we go ahead. Like I said, the construction sites over 1 acre are required to have a NPDES permit. And then, like I said, and then the city makes sure that the contractors comply with all the standards set in those permits. Management of post runoff site control. That is something I said, that's why we have our pond inspection program in place, to be able to sit there and be able to go out and be able to make sure that there are no barriers. They try to minimize bare areas going into there, trying to minimize people using fertilizer, too much fertilizer, to different areas, just trying to minimize the pollutants going into the water. Because once again, it is much easier to minimize, to try to take steps and have good housekeeping to be able to make sure that the pollutants don't go into the water, try to prevent them from going into the water, because like I said, that's the easiest way to go make sure that pollutants don't end up in our ponds, is to not let them get into our stormwater. And then good housekeeping and municipal operations. We have an inspection program for all of our municipal facilities to be able to make sure that we are minimizing our impacts to the surrounding water bodies. So that's kind of just a general overview of our NPDES program. As part of the NPDES program, it is we do have an illicit discharge portion of that. Basically, like I said, we have a city code. Like I said, you can see there the code article, city code, chapter 24, article 7. Basically, it says that you're not allowed to put anything into the stormwater system that is not stormwater. That includes chlorinated pools. If you're draining your pool, you should make sure that you dechlorinate it before you discharge it into the area. Like I said, it's also trying to minimize fertilizers, pesticides. Anytime you wash your car, we ask that you either go to a commercial car wash, or that you wash it in your front yard instead of on your driveway. That way, the grass that you have out there should be able to help soak in the soaps and suds. Should be able to give the chance for your grass to be able to do that, as opposed to going directly on your sidewalk or on your driveway. Because you wash your car directly on your driveway, it goes directly into the gutters and then into the stormwater system. And like I said, and anytime you add chemicals to the stormwater system, it is not a good thing for the environment. And also, like I said, the illicit discharge also does not allow people to tie into our stormwater system. I know there's a lot of areas where people would like to be able to tie like yard drains to our system, but because we cannot control what's going into those yard drains, it actually it's not a good idea for people to be able to have those drains actually tie into our stormwater system. Because once again, we're just trying to minimize the chances that something like an oil or a pesticide or a fertilizer goes directly into the stormwater system without having a chance to be able to be treated first. It also talks about, like I said, not being able to store or handle or pollutants that cause or expose their areas. So basically, we don't want paint cans, open paint cans left outside, so that when the water goes into it, it washes paint in the system. Oils and greases should actually be able to be put in containment areas and not just directly on the garage floors. It also relates to businesses also, making sure they don't just dump oils onto the ground and wash them out into their parking lot. So it's just a way to be able to make sure, like I said, trying to keep those chemicals where they belong and not actually going out into the environment. Like I said, as part of this program, the city does have the right that if it does find a discharge, to be able to go in and actually be able to stop that discharge. We will contact the property owner and at first, and if they're not able to stop it or to refuse to stop it, the city is able to go in and stop that discharge. And also, like I said, when any cost that is incurred by the city, we are able to charge back to the property owner because, like I said, one of the biggest things that the city is here for is to be able to protect the health and safety of all the citizens for the city of St. Cloud and with that. Our next program we have is the pond inspection program. The pond inspection program is basically we go out and we look at 450 ponds a year. Every pond, every stormwater pond we have inside the city of St. Cloud, we go and we inspect once a year on an annual basis. We go out there and make sure they comply with our ordinance out there. We have a pretty standard ordinance, and we make sure that the outfalls are clear of debris. We make sure the grass is being maintained, and the ponds are functioning the way that they were designed as part of their South Florida Water Management District permit. This permit was issued by South Florida, and like I said, it basically stormwater ponds have two functions. They do water quantity and water quality. Water quality means that there's a certain amount of water that's held back to allow for sediments and other pollutants to be able to settle out before it's discharged into our streams and lakes. The water quality. The water quantity is an undeveloped site is only discharges a certain amount in its natural state. And when there's a piece of property out there, there's a flat piece of ground, there's a certain amount of flow that goes off that naturally when it rains. And these stormwater ponds are designed that when the developer comes in and adds roadways and houses and driveways, then increases the runoff, as we discussed earlier, because it's no longer able to soak into the ground. And like I said, and if we did not have these stormwater ponds, we would just continue putting more and more water into our streams and our ponds, and would cause flooding throughout the city. By putting these ponds in there, they control the discharge rate of the neighborhoods or the developments, and they actually go out to be able to make sure that they go out at equal to or less than the flow before the areas were developed, to help try to minimize any impacts to the surrounding areas. As part of this, like I said, we do require that the property owner or the homeowner association maintains the ponds. The city of St. Cloud does not provide maintenance of all the ponds throughout the city. The majority of ponds in the city are maintained by private entities, either homeowner associations or property owners. And one of the biggest things we have throughout the city that we always try to, that it causes a lot of our roadway flooding, is that the outfalls for these ponds, the control structures, the outfalls, either the weirs or they're called orifices, they basically, the pipes become clogged. And like I said, and that causes the ponds to go to elevated levels. And when ponds go beyond levels that they're actually designed to be able to do, that's when water starts backing up into the roadways. And so that's why it's very important for neighborhoods to be able to make sure their homeowner association has an annual, has a routine maintenance out there, because the city only comes out there on the annual inspections or when there's starting to be issues after rains, we go out there and we look at these outfalls to be able to see if the outfalls or the ponds are rising and causing these issues. So it is very important that as a property owner, either a commercial property owner or a property owner in a neighborhood, that you make sure that those ponds that the outfalls are being cleaned properly. That is something that you can contact your homeowner association about to go make sure that your maintenance guys are doing that. Because the biggest thing is, they're out there mowing the lawns to be able to keep everything looking nice, the berms, that sort of stuff. It only take a few minutes more for them to go out and be able to make sure that the outfalls are not clogged, and we'll be able to make sure that would really help out the stormwater system as a whole to be able to make sure that the ponds are functioning properly. Another one of our programs we have here at the city is the Stormwater Utility. Basically, this utility is something that helps fund the stormwater programs. Basically, when it comes down to it, each individual home is charged 1 ERU. An ERU rate is basically, we did a study and we found out the average size and the average amount of impervious surface on a property is 2,664 square feet of impervious surface. Which over that exhibit there, you see a house and a driveway and all that stuff. That was we did a study throughout the entire city and found out that each house, the average area there between driveways and rooftops and all that stuff, pools, like I said, that pool decks is areas that we actually went out and did a survey throughout the city. I found that was the average size. And the reason why that is important is because commercial properties are charged an equivalent rate. So if there was like I said, I have some of my example there is if there's 26,640 square feet of impervious surface on a commercial property, then they would be charged an equivalent rate of 10 ERUs because they are 10 times bigger than what an average house would be. So if you are, so no matter if you are an apartment, a townhome, or a single family home, all of those are considered to be, they are charged equally at 1 ERU because that's considered an equivalent residential unit. So I said, so they are all 1 ERU. And then the stormwater, and then like I said, then the commercial properties, they are charged their equivalent area there because they're basically, where we went out there and found out their impacts are about the same as an individual home. And so like I said, so that is something that we have out there. And once we figured out all that, like I said, once you found out the equivalent rate, each ERU is charged at $6.35. So as a homeowner, you are charged $6.35 per month on your utility bill. It says that the commercial property would be at $63.50 because they are 10 times bigger. These funds actually go to be able to help fund our other the maintenance of our stormwater system, maintenance and improvements of all of our stormwater systems. So these funds are set aside specifically to be able to make sure that the infrastructure for the stormwater system and the maintenance of the stormwater system is being maintained, and it allows us to also make improvements to the stormwater system to be able to help minimize flooding throughout the city of St. Cloud. So we kind of talked about our different programs, and the question is, as a homeowner, what can you do? The biggest thing is, like I said, there are quite a few different things that you're able to do. I actually found another video to be able to do that. After this video, we will discuss these options more in depth.
Just where does all our rain go? In nature, trees, plants, and earth help absorb the rain slowly and break down pollutants, naturally refilling our groundwater and keeping our waterways healthy. But roads, driveways, and buildings don't absorb water. This forces rain into storm sewer, where it drains directly into rivers, creeks, or the ocean. When they get too much water, this can act like a fire hose, causing erosion and storing up sediment that smothers fish eggs and makes it hard for fish to breathe. Urban rainwater also picks up pollution, like oil on the road, pesticides, dog food, and garbage that can wind up in our waters and harm our aquatic life. So what can you do? Create a rain-friendly yard that helps water soak into the ground by adding some extra topsoil. Plant a tree, build a rain garden, and since nothing gets through regular asphalt, use paving stones or gravel to allow water to drip through driveways and sidewalks. Reduce the pollution that goes into stormwater by disposing of household chemicals at a recycling depot. Use less fertilizer and avoid pesticides. Pick up after your pet and put garbage where it belongs. Wash your car at a commercial car wash where water will be sent to a wastewater treatment plant. The more you do, the less will go down our storm drains and end up in our local waters. And remember, only rain should go down the drain.
So that kind of talks about some different areas that you're going with. I said it is actually the video came from Vancouver, but I said, but it was a really good little presentation put together there. It talks about, doing porous pavement or being able to have pavers for your driveway and sidewalks. Like I said, talks about doing using, I said, some other areas, or like I said, the rain gardens. So the rain gardens are basically low areas in your yard where you're able to put plantings in there that allows for the stormwater to be able to go there and a chance for it to soak into the ground as opposed to going out into the system. Like I said, there are some very nice examples of those online. It's a very easy way to be able to do it, and it's a very attractive way to be able to do that in your front yard. You always want to be able to try to plant native plants. That require, by planting native plants, they actually they're more resistant to drought, and they also do not need as much fertilizer or pesticides as plants that are from other areas. And so they said they're a lot easier to maintain, but then they also, like I said, put less strain on our natural resources also. Like I said, bioswale is more for like commercial property, but it's also, it's kind of like a rain garden, except it's just a longer area for water to be able to go into. Like I said, it has plantings in it. Instead of having a lot of curbs and that sort of stuff, you're able to put in basically a giant swale, which is, a foot or two depression that allows the water to be able to go into it and spread out and be able to soak into the ground, as opposed to being, like I said, being able to be discharged off site. Another area is green roofs. I know they're not very popular in this area right now. They're a little bit more difficult to be able to maintain. But like I said, when it comes to commercial properties, it's always nice because, like I said, you have that big area up there that you could utilize for a green area, as opposed to just having rain hit the top of your roof and run off and be able to go to your stormwater ponds and discharge out there. So those are just some different options that there are. Kind of see there, I put a little thing from the EPA talking about 10 things you can do to prevent stormwater runoff. Like I said, the biggest thing is, talking about composting your yard waste instead of using it for the clippings. Here in the city of St. Cloud, we do have the green garbage cans. So it's always good to use those baggers on the back of your lawnmowers to be able to collect all those clippings, as opposed to having them go into into your yard and be able to wash off and go into the roadway. Like I said, talking about mowing lawns, you also want to make sure you blow your clippings out of the street. You do not want them to be able to be laying out in the street and get washed down into the system. So like I said, as everything decays, it starts giving off nutrients, and nutrients going into the water systems are tough, because that's how we start getting algae blooms and a lot of growth throughout the different natural water bodies. There's excessive plant growth in them when you add too many nutrients to them. Like I said, obviously you want to try to minimize the use of fertilizers. And when you do use fertilizers, you want to make sure that you don't get them on any impervious surfaces such as your driveway, sidewalks, or adjacent roads, because they are not helping your lawn, and they're also washing directly into the stormwater system, which once again releases those fertilizers there. Like I said, storm drains here in Florida, we do not have combined stormwater sewer drains and sanitary sewer drains. So like I said, anything that's, I know someplace up north, they have those combined sewers. We do not here, and we do not have those here. We have a sanitary sewer, which goes to our wastewater plant, but our stormwater areas do not go to our wastewater plants. And so, like I said, so it's actually, it eventually ends up into Mother Nature. So, like I said, so the biggest thing is you don't want to dump anything down storm drains. We want to make sure we dispose of everything properly, including oils, which, like I said, there is a place at the St. Cloud transfer station where you're actually able to bring and dispose of your oils properly, along with paints and any kind of hazardous materials you're able to bring to the transfer station, and we can properly dispose of those. So like I said, so that is a good place to be able to take those, as opposed to just throwing them into the grass or down the storm drains. Another good thing is to be able to make sure you vegetate, make sure you have ground cover on your area. Bare spots in your yard allows for the soil to be able to wash away sediment and soil to be able to wash away from your property. So by putting the grass down, it actually helps keep the grass or other kind of ground covers. You can always have stones or mulch in different areas, but the main thing is you don't want the dirt to be able to wash away. Roots from grass and trees and bushes are really good about holding on to the dirt. But just bare spots of dirt, it just washes away. And so, like I said, the biggest thing is, like I said, they also talk about your downspouts. You want to make sure you try to get those to go in the grass instead of on your driveways. You also want to check for your car leaks, your car, and make sure your car's not leaking oil on the ground, gas, those kind of things, because as they hit the driveway or in the grass, they are being introduced into the environment. That's really where they do not belong. The biggest thing is, like I said, make sure you take care of your pets. And I said, I have 2 dogs myself, and I make sure I pick up after them, because, like I said, pet waste is another way to be able to directly put pollutants into the system, and that's what we're trying to avoid. Like I said, trying to minimize what we put into it, so we don't have to worry about trying to take it out later, because it's a lot easier to be able to do these small little steps to help take care of your property and be able to make sure that, like I said, if everybody does a little bit, it adds up to a whole lot. Instead of asking somebody to do a whole lot at the end, if everybody does a little bit along the way, it makes it a lot easier to be able to take care of everything along the way. And then you do have septic tank. I know there are some areas inside the city do have septic tanks on the houses. Make sure that they're properly maintained and pumped out regularly to be able to make sure that, like I said, that you're not discharging waste into the ground that, like I said, has not been treated. With that, on this list here has multiple areas where you'd be able to go and look at different resources. I have from the city of St. Cloud has good resources. The South Florida Water Management District is the water management district in which we're at and where we're in right now, and that they have a lot of really good information there. And also the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, has a lot of good resources. So I'm just going to leave those up for a minute or two, so everybody, like I said, you can take a look at that. You'll see if you have anything with that. And while we're kind of leaving those up, I just want to kind of go ahead, and I actually received a few questions, so I'm just going to go over and see if I try to answer a question or two while I leave the resources up for you to be able to take down anything you want, be able to have this. And one other thing I did forget to mention earlier, this is being recorded, so the city will be able to put this back up for you to be able to replay this at a later date. So like I said, so if you're not able to get some of these things, if I move too quick, I do apologize. But they said, but this will be able to go there where you'll be able to play it back and be able to look at different things at a later date. One of the first questions I got here today, it looks like, what can the city do to stop standing water in my backyard? That's a good question, because, like I said, the city tries to be able to go out and be able to help everybody they can, but there are limits to what the city is able to do. We do a lot of maintenance. We're able to maintain infrastructure that is in the right of way, and also in easements. Once they go outside, once they go onto private property, unfortunately, the city's not really able to come on and be able to dig ditches or be able to fill in low spots and that sort of stuff. But one of the areas that we do provide, a service that we do provide, is a fill permit. Basically, this is a no-cost permit that we provide to everybody. You have an opportunity, and if you fill out the permit, we'll come out and be able to try to help you with suggestions and ways to be able to look at, be able to possibly regrade your property or be able to add fill into low areas. The biggest thing that we want to make sure is when you're adding fill to your property that you do not block the natural drainage patterns. Sometimes there's certain areas in the city where there's rear swales where everybody's properties all go to the back of their properties, property lines, and then drains away. And so we want to make sure we don't fill those in, because if you fill those in, that blocks the drainage for some of your other neighbors and causes issues. And so that's why we created this fill permit process that will allow you to be able to make improvements to your property while not impacting your neighbors at the same time. If you have questions or would like to be able to discuss that, the person that takes care of that here at the City of St. Cloud, his name is Mr. Don Callahan, and his phone number is 407-957-7269. Once again, his name is Don, and his phone number is 407-957-7269. If you call him, he'll be glad to be able to come out and be able to discuss any options that you may have. And also look at the adjacent stormwater system, because there are some times where the stormwater system does become clogged or the inlets become covered with debris, and we will be able to come out and be able to make repairs or be able to maintain the city's public stormwater system, and then and also be able to, like I said, be able to give you options on what you be able to do with your property and not impacting those. So I appreciate that question. That was a very good question. Like I said, with that, like I said, this is my contact information there. And so like I said, so that really is one of the things. I do want to thank everybody for coming out today. But with that, like I said, I've actually received a few more questions, so I would like to just kind of go over those before we go ahead and say goodbye for today. I had mentioned septic tanks earlier in this presentation, and I got a question asking, who can I talk to about my septic tank? Well, that's a very good question. The City of St. Cloud, like I said, we have the Environmental Utilities Department, which deals with people that have that are discharging and they have their wastewater going into our system. But we actually do not take care of septic tanks. That actually falls under the jurisdiction of Osceola County, the Osceola County Health Department. They are the ones that permit and can be able to discuss anything with you on that. Like I said, their phone number is, excuse me, so let me look it up real quick. The Osceola County Health Department can be reached at 407-742-8606. Once again, that's the Osceola County Health Department, and the phone number is 407-742-8606. You can also reach them online. Their website is osceola.floridahealth.gov. That is osceola.floridahealth.gov. That is their webpage, or you can always put in the browser, the ability to just type in Osceola County Health Department, and I'm pretty sure that website would be able to come up if you're just running a search for that. So like I said, but I appreciate that question. But like I said, so if you have a question about something, they'd be glad to be able to help you out with that. It looks like I have another question here. It says, can the city install a pipe under my driveway to stop water from standing in it? That's a really good question. Like I said, our city code requires that the property owner maintains their own driveway, basically because that's the access point for you to be able to access your property. But that does not stop you from being able to make improvements to it. The only thing that we ask is that you come to the city and be able to obtain a right-of-way utilization permit. Right-of-way utilization permit allows you to be able to make improvements within the right-of-way. Without that, you're not allowed to be able to make those improvements. It's a low-cost permit, but once again, the same person that would help you out with the fill permit will be able to help you out with a right-of-way utilization permit. And his name is Don, and his phone number is 407-957-7269. Once again, his name is Don, and it's 407-957-7269. He'd be glad to be able to, once again, when you call that number, he'd be glad to be able to come out and be able to discuss what you want to do with in the right of way, and be able to give you your options on what you can do and what you can't do. The biggest thing is the city does have a minimum pipe diameter of 15 inches, and it has to be a concrete pipe to be able to be underneath the driveways there. We do that, like I said, we have minimum pipe size to be able to make sure that the sediment is able to go through, and also allows for it to flow as best it can. Depending on where your driveway is, it may be required to have a bigger pipe. And then, like I said, we do concrete because, like I said, it's a very durable material that allows for you to be able to do that. We also have a driveway detail that will show you what needs to be put back there. We also allow, like I said, one of the newer things we have within the past couple of years, we have actually started allowing residents to have concrete pavers driveways that go out into the right of way. A couple within the past few years, it used to be that you had to have a concrete apron, but now we allow for you to have pavers to go all the way within the right of way. So that is something that it's a newer standard that we had. It's only come into effect the past couple of years. But like I said, but that allows for everybody to have the pavers on their property, and then also all the way to the edge of the roadway. But if you have any other questions about that, like I said, you give Don a call, or my contact information is there. I'd be glad to be able to talk to you also. Looks like the last question we have here for today that's been submitted so far is, who can I call if I have a drainage concern? That's an excellent question there. I said the city's always wanting to be able to know about, be able to try to help out any way they can. Like I said, if you see something that's there's standing water, it appears the drain's not working properly, please give it a call, because like I said, we only have a very few people that work here at the city, a handful of people. And like I said, and like I said, there's a lot of citizens that we serve, and if the citizens see something, it's good to be able to contact us to be able to make sure that we're aware that something's going on, because sometimes it's a system maybe having issues that we're not aware of until somebody calls us. So we always welcome calls to be able to do that. We always ask that you call our customer service line for the City of St. Cloud to be able to report these concerns. And customer service for the City of St. Cloud is 407-957-7344. That is the main line to our customer service, and they'll ask you a few questions about where it's at and that sort of stuff. But we definitely appreciate any reports of drainage concerns. And like I said, once again, that number for customer service is 407-957-7344. Like I said, I thank you guys for hanging out with me today and be able to allow me to be able to discuss and inform you about our stormwater programs here at the City of St. Cloud. With that, like I said, I have no more questions. Like I said, once again, this was a recording, so you're more than welcome to go back and watch as many times as you would like. And like I said, and if you have any questions or anything, like I said, please don't feel free to either call me or email me. And then like I said, then I've also provided you details about other people inside the city that help out with the stormwater programs here at the City of St. Cloud. With that, like I say, thank you for attending, and you guys have a great day. Thank you.